Introduction. The youth staff area on cruise ships is responsible for ensuring that children and teenagers on board have a fun and safe experience. Staff members work as a team to create and implement educational and recreational activities for young passengers, ensuring they have the opportunity to have fun and make friends while on board. Additionally, staff members are also responsible for overseeing young passengers, ensuring they are safe and treated with respect. If you enjoy working with children and teenagers and are looking for an exciting and challenging career, working as youth staff on a cruise ship could be a great choice for you. What are the characteristics needed to be a youth staff? Being a youth staff member on a cruise ship requires certain characteristics that are essential for ensuring that children and teenagers on board have a fun and safe experience. These characteristics include the ability to work with children and teenagers, creativity, leadership skills, responsibility, flexibility, teamworking ability, ability to communicate in English, and basic knowledge of first aid. These characteristics allow the staff member to create and implement educational and recreational activities, supervise young passengers, and handle any unexpected or emergency situations that may arise. To be successful as a youth staff on board a cruise ship, some important characteristics include: ability to work with children and teenagers. It is important to have patience and the ability to communicate and interact with young passengers. Creativity. Being able to create fun and educational activities and programs for young passengers is necessary. Leadership skills. Being able to supervise and lead a team of staff members is required. Responsibility. It is essential to be reliable and fulfill responsibilities and safety rules on board. Flexibility. Being able to handle unexpected situations and changes in schedule is necessary. Teamworking ability. It is important to have good teamworking skills and to collaborate with other departments on board. Ability to communicate in English. Good English language skills are necessary as it is the common language used on cruise ships. Knowledge of first aid. Basic knowledge of first aid is important in order to handle any emergencies that may arise. Certifications. First aid certification is a certification that is generally obtained through a course that teaches basic first aid techniques, such as dealing with injuries, burns, and other health issues. This can be important for handling any emergencies that may arise on board. Leadership. Certification is a certification that can be obtained through training courses or programs that teach leadership skills, such as managing teams, resolving conflicts, and making effective decisions. This can be important for supervising and directing a staff team. Recreational activity certification is a certification that can be obtained through training courses or programs that teach skills for planning and executing recreational and educational activities for children and teenagers. This can be important for creating fun and educational activities for young passengers. Child management certification is a certification that can be obtained through training courses or programs that teach skills for planning and executing activities for children, including healthcare, safety, and development. This can be important for dealing with the specific needs of children and teenagers on board. Keep in mind that certifications vary by country, and that cruise companies have different needs and requirements. It is important to check the specific job requirements and company requirements before applying and to prepare for the job. How do I get started working? To begin working as a youth staff on a cruise ship, it is necessary to have experience working with children and teenagers, leadership skills, good English communication abilities, basic knowledge of first aid, and a willingness to work in challenging conditions. Additionally, It is important to prepare for the job by studying safety policies and procedures, staying current with trends in activities and programs for young people, and developing new ideas to keep passengers entertained. It is important to have good work ethic and posture, and to always be willing to help and support team members and young passengers. To achieve this, it is necessary to apply for a job and go through the selection process, preparing your resume and letters of recommendation. Some cruise ship companies may require some form of academic qualifications to work as a youth staff. However, oftentimes, previous experience working with children and teenagers, as well as the skills mentioned above, are considered more important than academic qualifications. It's possible that some cruise ships may require specific academic qualifications, such as child education or pedagogy, but this varies from company to company. In general, a degree in recreation, tourism, or administration can be helpful, but not required. It's important to check the specific requirements of the job and company before applying. To start working as a youth staff on a cruise ship, you will generally need: research cruise companies that offer programs for young passengers and check if they are hiring youth staff. Create an attractive resume and include your experience working with children and teenagers, leadership, salary and benefits. The salary of a youth staff for a cruise ship can vary depending on the cruise company, position, and experience. Generally, the salary can range from $800 to $2,500 per month, depending on the size and type of ship, the duration of the voyage, and the worker's experience. In addition, benefits may include on-board accommodation and meals, health insurance, paid vacation, and other benefits. Be sure to check with the specific cruise company for details on salary and benefits offered. Benefits may include: competitive salary, free accommodation on board the ship, free food, traveling around the world, opportunity for professional growth, training and skill development, health and insurance benefits, free time to explore port cities, opportunity to work with an international team, chance to make new friends and professional connections. It is important to remember that cruise ship employees spend most of their time on board the ship, and benefits can include discounts on shops, bars, and restaurants on board, as well as other amenities. Is language important? Working as a youth staff on a cruise ship requires a certain level of language proficiency, as it involves communicating with children and teenagers from different backgrounds and cultures. In order to excel in this role, it is important to have strong verbal and written communication skills in the language used on the ship, as well as knowledge of other languages spoken by passengers on board. Being able to understand and respond to the needs and concerns of the children and teenagers under your care is essential, as is being able to communicate effectively with the other members of the ship's staff. Additionally, having language skills can help you to establish positive relationships with the children and teenagers, and make their experience on the ship more enjoyable. Overall, having strong language skills is a valuable asset for anyone looking to work as a youth staff on a cruise ship. To work as a youth staff on board a cruise ship, it is usually necessary to have the following documents: valid passport, health certificate, maritime safety certificate, STCW, first aid certificate, survival training certificate, firefighting training certificate, emergency management training certificate, swimming proficiency certificate, rescue proficiency certificate, oxygen administration proficiency certificate, defibrillator administration proficiency certificate, Medication Administration Proficiency Certificate. Drug Administration Proficiency Certificate. Epinephrine Administration Proficiency Certificate. Histamine Administration Proficiency Certificate. Adrenaline Administration Proficiency Certificate. Atropine Administration Proficiency Certificate. Epinephrine Administration Proficiency Certificate. These are the documents generally required to work as a youth staff on board a cruise ship. However, requirements may vary according to the company and the regulations of the country where the ship is registered. It is important to check the specific requirements of the company and ensure that all necessary documents are up to date and valid before submitting your resume. How should my CV be presented? To apply for a youth staff position on a cruise ship, it is important that your resume is well structured and presents relevant information for the job. It should include personal information such as your name, address, phone number, and email, as well as a professional summary that highlights your skills and relevant experiences for the position. It is important to include information about your academic background and courses related to the children's recreation sector, such as recreation courses, children's party animation, first aid, among others. It is also important to include information about your professional experience, including previous positions related to children and teenagers service and the companies you have worked for. It is also important to include information about your skills and knowledge, such as spoken languages, communication skills, knowledge of recreational and playful activities, etc. If possible, include professional references that can speak about your skills and performance at work. It is important that the resume is well written and grammatically correct, and it is recommended to use a readable font and a simple and organized format. Don't forget to include information about the necessary documents to work as a youth staff on board a cruise ship, such as passport, health certificate, maritime safety certificate, among others. Example of how a good CV should be written. Personal information. Name, Maria Santos. Address, Avenida dos Passaros, 456, Rio de Janeiro, RJCP 23456 to 789. Phone, 21 1234 to 5678. Email, maria.santos@email.com. Objective: to obtain the administrative assistant position and contribute to the success of the company with my administrative and communication skills. Education. Bachelor's degree in Business Administration from the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, 2015 to 2019. Professional experience. Human Resources intern at a technology company, 2018 to 2019. Administrative assistant at a construction company, 2019 to 2021. Event coordinator at a communication agency, 2021 to 2022. Skills. Advanced knowledge of Microsoft Office package. Ability to handle tight deadlines. Strong communication and writing skills. Ability to work in a team and handle conflicts. Strong organizational and task management skills. Basic knowledge of accounting. Languages. Portuguese, native. English, intermediate. French, basic. References, available upon request. This is an example of how your resume for a cruise ship youth staff should be presented. Keep in mind that the requirements may vary depending on the company and the regulations of the country where the ship is registered. Make sure to include all relevant information and make your resume professional and organized. How should the cover letter be made? A cover letter for working as youth staff on a cruise ship should be written in a clear, professional, and objective manner. It should contain information about yourself and your relevant skills for the position, and how they fit in the company's needs. Some tips for writing an effective cover letter include: personalize the letter. Start the letter with a formal greeting and include the recipient's name if possible. This shows that you have made an effort to personalize the letter and that you are interested in working specifically for that company. Explain why you are the ideal candidate. Make a brief introduction of yourself and highlight your skills and relevant experiences for the position. Explain how these skills and experiences make you the ideal candidate for the job. Make a connection with the company. Show that you are interested in the company and that you have researched it. Explain how your skills and experiences fit in the company's needs and how you can contribute to its success. End the letter professionally. End the letter with a thank you and contact information. Ask to be considered for the job and offer to discuss the position in more detail. Make sure the letter is well written and grammatically correct, and use a legible font and a simple, organized format. Body of the letter. Dear Human Resources Manager's name. I am writing to recommend XXXX for the youth staff position on a cruise ship. As your occupation, I had the opportunity to work with XXXX at company name during time period, and I can confidently say that XXXX would be an excellent addition to the youth staff team. During the time we worked together, XXXX showed themselves to be a highly responsible, reliable, and creative individual. XXXX possesses exceptional communication and teamwork skills, which are essential for success in this position. Additionally, XXXX has previous experience working with children and teenagers, making them perfectly suited for the youth staff role. XXXX is also a very dedicated and always willing to help, regardless of the task. XXXX is able to handle unexpected situations with calm and efficiency, which is crucial in a cruise ship environment. I wholeheartedly recommend XXXX and believe that XXXX would be a valuable asset to the youth staff team on a cruise ship. If you need any further information about XXXX, please do not hesitate to contact me. Sincerely, your name. Contact information. I hope this letter of recommendation has given you an idea of how a letter for this position should be structured and how it should highlight the candidate's skills and experience. Remember to always customize the letter to fit the candidate and the specific position. Live and online interview. Tips for live interview. To excel in a live interview for the position of youth staff aboard a cruise ship, it is important to follow some tips. Be prepared. Research the company and the position beforehand to have a good understanding of what the job entails. Dress professionally. First impressions are important, so make sure you dress appropriately for the interview. Be punctual. Arrive on time for the interview to show that you are responsible and reliable. Be positive and enthusiastic. Show the interviewer that you are excited about the opportunity to work on a cruise ship and work with children. Be ready to answer questions about your experience with children and youth. Be prepared to give specific examples of how you have worked with children and youth in the past. Show your language skills if you are fluent in other languages besides your native one. Be prepared to answer questions about your ability to work as part of a team, your ability to handle stressful situations, and your ability to adapt to different cultures. Bring copies of your resume and any relevant certifications or qualifications. Show your willingness to learn and grow with the company. Thank the interviewer for their time and express your interest in the position. To be successful as a youth staff, it is crucial to be able to communicate effectively and professionally with guests and colleagues. Furthermore, it is essential to be prepared to handle unexpected situations and meet guest needs appropriately. Live and online interview. Tips for an online interview. If the interview is online, it's important to follow some tips to do well. Be prepared, research the company and the position beforehand to have a good understanding of what the job entails. Have a good presentation, check that your internet connection and equipment are working properly before the interview. Dress professionally. First impressions are important, so make sure you dress appropriately for the interview. Be punctual. Arrive on time for the interview to show that you are responsible and reliable. Be positive and enthusiastic. Show the interviewer that you are excited about the opportunity to work on a cruise ship and work with children. Be ready to answer questions about your experience with children and youth. Be prepared to give specific examples of how you have worked with children and youth in the past. Show your language skills if you are fluent in other languages, besides your native one. Be prepared to answer questions about your ability to work as part of a team, your ability to handle stressful situations, and your ability to adapt to different cultures. Bring copies of your resume and any relevant certifications or qualifications. Show your willingness to learn and grow with the company. Thank the interviewer for their time and express your interest in the position. Remember that, as a youth staff, it is essential to be able to communicate clearly and professionally with guests and colleagues, and to be prepared to improvise and respond to the guests' needs. What are the most common live and online interview questions? Some common questions that might be asked in a live and online interview for the youth staff position on board a cruise ship include: why would you like to work as a youth staff on a cruise ship? I love working with children and young people and I adore traveling. The opportunity to combine these two passions by working as youth staff on a cruise ship is very exciting for me. In addition, I would like to help create a memorable experience for the young passengers and their families. What is your previous experience working with children and young people? I have experience working as a volunteer in summer programs for children and as a sports instructor at a high school. Additionally, I have worked as a babysitter and as an education assistant at a nursery. How would you handle a difficult situation involving a young passenger or a team member? I would handle a difficult situation involving a young passenger or a team member in a calm and professional manner. I would first try to understand the situation and listen to all parties involved. Then, I would work to find a fair and balanced solution that meets the needs of all involved. How would you handle a young passenger who is having difficulty adjusting to the environment of the cruise ship? I would handle a young passenger who is having difficulty adjusting to the environment of the cruise ship by offering my support and understanding. I would try to understand the young passenger's concerns and help him or her familiarize with the ship and the available activities. I could also offer suggestions for activities or events that may interest them and help them connect with other young passengers. How would you deal with a young passenger who is behaving inappropriately? I would first try to understand the causes of the inappropriate behavior. If the child is feeling stressed or uncomfortable, I would try to talk to them and offer support. If the behavior is a result of a lack of understanding of the ship's rules or norms, I would explain the rules clearly and patiently. If the behavior is aggressive or dangerous, I would take immediate action to ensure the safety of other passengers and crew members. How would you deal with a young passenger who is feeling sad or anxious? I would try to understand the causes of these feelings and offer support. I would talk to the child and ask them how they are feeling and what I can do to help. I would also offer fun activities or events to distract them and help them feel better. If necessary, I would recommend that they seek professional help. How would you deal with a young passenger who is feeling lonely or uncomfortable? I would try to find ways to make the child feel more included and comfortable. I would offer activities and events where they can interact with other passengers or crew members. I would also talk to them and ask how they are feeling and what I can do to help. If necessary, I would recommend that they seek professional help. How would you handle a young passenger who is feeling lost or disoriented? I would try to help the child orient themselves and feel more secure. I would provide information about the ship's facilities and activities, and guide the child on how to move around the ship. I would also talk to them and ask how they are feeling and what I can do to help. If necessary, I would recommend that they seek professional help. How would you handle a young passenger who is feeling scared or insecure? I would ensure that the young passenger feels safe and comfortable, offering my support and guidance. I could also seek help from other members of the crew, such as the security officer or ship's doctor, if needed. Do you have any experience working in a multicultural environment? Yes, I have experience working in multicultural environments through my previous experiences as a volunteer in cultural exchange programs and working on multinational teams. I have learned to be sensitive and respectful of cultural differences, and to seek to understand the needs of young passengers of different backgrounds. How would you deal with a young passenger who is having difficulty communicating due to a language barrier? I would use my nonverbal communication skills and try to find an interpreter or translator to assist with communication. I could also seek additional resources, such as visual communication cards or translation apps, to help with communication with the young passenger. How would you deal with a young passenger who is having difficulty adjusting to the routine of the cruise ship? I would ensure that the young passenger is aware of the scheduled times and activities on board and that they have resources to help them adjust to the routine, such as an activity calendar or a guidance guide. I would also offer my support and guidance to the young passenger, and seek help from other team members if needed. How would you deal with a young passenger who is having difficulty having fun or getting involved in the activities of the cruise ship? I would first try to understand the reasons behind their lack of interest in activities. It may be that they are dealing with a personal issue or simply have not found an activity that interests them. I would then offer my help in finding activities they may enjoy and make sure they are aware of the available options. I would also encourage them to participate in group activities to increase their chances of interacting with other passengers. How would you deal with a young passenger who is having difficulty interacting with other passengers or crew members? I would try to understand the reasons behind their difficulty interacting. It could be that they are dealing with social anxiety or simply don't know how to start a conversation. I would then offer my help in teaching them effective communication techniques and encourage participation in group activities. Additionally, I would also make sure they have access to support resources such as counselors or therapists if needed. How would you deal with a young passenger who is having difficulty adjusting to leisure time on board? I would first try to understand the reasons behind their difficulty adjusting. It could be that they are used to a more structured daily routine or simply don't know what to do with their free time. I would then offer my help in finding activities and occupations that they might enjoy and make sure they are aware of the available options. Additionally, I would also encourage the formation of interest groups so they can find other passengers with similar interests. How would you deal with a young passenger who is having difficulty adjusting to the food or climate on the cruise ship? I would first try to understand the passenger's specific needs, such as food allergies or dietary restrictions. I would then provide appropriate food options and provide information on how to protect themselves from the climate, such as using sunscreen and staying hydrated. How would you deal with a young passenger who is having difficulty adapting to the ship's rules and regulations? I would explain the rules and regulations clearly and patiently, and make sure the passenger understands the reasons why they exist, such as safety on board. I would also work with the passenger to find creative solutions, if necessary, to help them adapt to the rules. How would you deal with a young passenger who is having difficulty adapting to the ship's entertainment program? I would provide information about the various entertainment options available and help the passenger find activities that are of interest to them. I would also work with other members of the team to ensure that the passenger feels included and welcome in all activities. Answers to these questions should be honest and show how your experience and skills fit the role of youth staff. Remember to demonstrate enthusiasm and passion for the job and ability to handle challenges and unexpected situations. These questions and answers serve for someone who has already worked on board and wants to apply for the same area, but in another company. Is the goal to make the interviewee nervous? Some of these questions may make the interviewee nervous, as the recruiter will evaluate their level of calmness and speed in handling real-life situations that the interviewee may encounter in the role of youth staff on a cruise ship. Let's move on to the questions and examples of answers. Question: how would you handle a situation of conflict between parents and children on board the ship? Answer: I would first try to understand the concerns of both parties and seek solutions that met the needs of all involved. Then, I would work to mediate the situation and ensure that the parents and children understood each other's needs. If necessary, I would also involve the crew and supervisors to ensure that the situation was resolved fairly and balanced. Question: how would you handle a young person who is behaving inappropriately on board the ship? Answer: I would first try to understand the causes of the young person's inappropriate behavior and work to find solutions that met their needs. Then, I would work with the young person to establish clear boundaries and expectations for their behavior on board the ship. If necessary, I would also involve the crew and supervisors to ensure that the young person was meeting expectations and rules set. Question: how would you handle an emergency situation on board the ship? Answer: I would first ensure the safety of everyone on board by following the emergency protocols set by the company. Then, I would work with the crew and supervisors to ensure that all emergency procedures were being followed and that the needs of all passengers were being met. If necessary, I would also involve local authorities and other resources to ensure that the situation was resolved safely and efficiently. Question: how would you handle a situation of indiscipline among the crew on board the ship? Answer: I would first try to understand the causes of the indiscipline among the crew and work to find solutions that met the needs of those involved. Then, I would work with the crew to establish clear boundaries and expectations for behavior on board the ship. If necessary, I would also involve the supervisors to ensure that the crew was meeting expectations and rules set. Question: how would you handle a situation of an unsatisfied passenger on board the ship? Answer: I would first try to understand the concerns of the unsatisfied passenger and work to find solutions that met their needs. Then, I would work with the crew and supervisors to ensure that the passengers' needs were being met and that the situation was resolved fairly and balanced. If necessary, I would also involve the company managers to ensure that the situation was handled properly. Question: how would you handle a situation of rule violation on board the ship? Answer: I would first ensure that all involved were aware of the rules set by the company. Then, I would work with the crew and supervisors to ensure that the rules were being followed and that the needs of all passengers were being met. If necessary, I would also involve the company managers to ensure that the situation was handled properly and that necessary measures were taken to prevent future violations. These questions may be challenging and make the interviewee nervous, but it's important to remember that it's natural to feel nervous during an interview and that the interviewers understand this. Communication on board. What are the most useful phrases to use? Some useful phrases that can be used as youth staff aboard a cruise ship include: I am always available to help the youth have fun and feel safe on board. I am responsible for organizing fun and educational activities for the youth, including games, challenges, and projects. I work closely with parents and supervisors to ensure that the youth are having fun in a safe and responsible manner. I am a mentor and guide for the youth, helping them make the most of their experience on board. I am always ready to solve problems and ensure that the youth are satisfied with their experience on board. I am able to handle emergency situations and ensure the safety of the youth on board. I am proactive in finding ways to improve the youth's experience on board and make it even more fun and memorable. I work as a team with the crew to ensure that the youth are having fun and feeling well cared for. I have excellent communication skills and ability to connect with people of all ages. I am flexible and able to handle unexpected situations and last-minute changes. Welcome to our youth entertainment team. We are excited to have some fun time together during this trip. Please do not hesitate to come to me if you need help or guidance during your stay on board. We will meet at the Youth Entertainment Center at time to start our fun activities. Remember to always use your boarding pass and identification during youth entertainment team activities. Please keep your dormitory area clean and tidy to ensure comfort for all guests. Don't forget to bring sunscreen and water for outdoor activities. We are always looking for feedback from parents and youth to ensure we are providing the best activities possible. It is important to follow the rules and guidance of the supervision team to ensure safety for all on board. We are excited to meet all the youth and make new friends during this exciting trip. Please do not hesitate to contact us if you need any kind of assistance during your stay on board. These phrases are just an example, and it's important to be prepared to improvise and communicate clearly and effectively with guests. It's important to remember that as a youth staff, it's essential to be able to communicate clearly and professionally with guests and colleagues and be prepared to improvise and respond to guests' needs. Conclusion. In conclusion, the role of a youth staff member on a cruise ship is to provide a safe, fun, and educational experience for young passengers. This includes organizing activities, games, and projects, working closely with parents and supervisors, serving as a mentor and guide, and being available to assist and solve problems. It also involves being proactive in finding ways to improve the experience for young passengers, working with the crew to ensure their comfort and safety, and having strong communication and interpersonal skills. The goal is to make sure that young passengers have a memorable and enjoyable experience during their time on board.